Hi guys, and welcome to our channel where we speak to really cool people doing really cool things. This week we speak to Rhiannon from Epsom Bakehouse, which explains this mess right here. So hope you enjoy this video and let us know what you think. Hi guys, and would like to welcome Rhiannon from Epsom Bakehouse, who's going to be teaching us how to make the perfect flatbread today. And yeah, Michael's with us too, and we're just going to get going. So Rhiannon, do you want to just tell us what we're going to be doing and how we're going to do it?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thanks so much for having me on the blog. I really appreciate it. And yeah, today we're going to make a really simple 2-ingredient flatbread. And this is something that you can make and bake straight away and eat it with whatever meal you'd like to pair it with. It works really well just with dips, or it could go with something with a sauce like a curry. So it's a really great bread to have and to know how to make. And luckily it's really simple. So we're going to start off with I've got plain flour in this bowl. Now the good thing about this recipe is you can make as much or as little as you need. So I'm going to use about 80 grams of flour, but we're going to use equal amounts of the flour, and the second ingredient is yogurt, plain yogurt. I'm using a Greek style yogurt, but you can just use a plain yogurt as well. And you can just use equal amounts. If you want to make more, do. But these are best eaten fresh, so just make what you need on the day. So yeah, I've got about 80 grams of plain flour in there. I've also added, now I said 2 ingredients, but if you are using plain flour, you'll need to use a little bit of baking powder. I've used about half a teaspoon of baking powder in there as well. And if you're using self-raising flour, then you don't need to put anything else in, so you can just have the self-raising flour. And then once you've got the flour weighed out in your bowl, so maybe 100 grams.
Should we get measuring, Michael?
Yeah, you can measure up.
So here's one I made earlier. I'm ready to go.
Oh, okay.
We're good.
All right. So I've got my plain flour and my baking powder in there, or if you've just got your self-raising flour, and then I'm going to add in an equal amount of the yogurt, so about 80 grams.
How much baking powder should we put in?
So if you're using about 100 grams of flour, put about a teaspoon in.
Okay, so 100 grams of flour.
Rhiannon, really naive, obvious question, but we are putting this together, aren't we? Because I'm panicking already.
We're mixing it together.
Perfect. Okay.
So mix your yogurt in to your flour. So an equal amount of yogurt and flour.
And then you get 100 grams of yogurt as well, you said, didn't you?
Yes, 100 grams of plain yogurt.
Plain yogurt.
And then you're just going to mix it up so it should form a fairly sturdy dough. So something that should come together. You might find that all the wet stuff sticks to the spoon that you're stirring with, so just scrape it off.
Spillage already.
Okay.
All right, so keep mixing, bring it together. So the flour's going to absorb all of that yogurt, and it should come together. So you can.
So it's starting to look a bit like that. Is that it's kind of crumbly / lumpy?
Yeah, so really press it together so the flour absorbs the yogurt.
Okay, so we want to bind it basically.
Yeah, we want it to be a lump of dough. It shouldn't be in any way liquid. You're going to be chopping this up and forming it into little patties.
Okay. And do you usually do, so when you do your online classes, how many people do you tend to have maximum doing this at the same time?
So yeah, I would normally be teaching in-person classes here in Surrey, but obviously I can't do that now with the current crisis. So I am taking my classes online, and I can have, at most I've probably had about 20 people baking along with me. So I'm doing everything from hot cross buns to ciabattas to baguettes. So when I'm doing it just here in my kitchen, obviously I'm limited to maybe kind of 4 or 5 people baking along with me. But online it's a little bit more, and you can still, as you can see, everyone can see, and I can see what everyone's doing, so I can still get people out and answer their questions. All right, so if you formed a lump of dough like that.
Now mine's still quite crumbly, Rhiannon. Should I be adding more yogurt?
If it's not coming together, just add a dash more yogurt.
Okay.
Sometimes different flour brands just absorb a little bit more or less liquid than others, so don't worry about that if it is.
How have you found leaving a class in person to taking it online?
I mean, obviously there is a little bit of disconnect, but I think if I can leave plenty of time for questions, and I'm having taught all of the breads that I'm teaching in person, I can preempt a lot of the common questions that people will ask. So I try to cover those as much as possible when I'm telling people how to do the technique, how to knead, and I think, oh, this is what someone would ask at this point in the class. So I try and answer the questions, but I can always stop the questions, and I leave as much time as possible for that. So I don't want people to leave the class thinking, oh, I can never do that again. I want to be able to actually help them to be able to make the dough.
To be fair,
as I said,
I'm really excited for how this is going to turn out.
Well, your dough looks fantastic, so that looks great. We've got to the similar stage. How you doing at the bottom there, Michael?
See, there's a reason why I'm not letting you see my workspace, because I'm just going
to... So once we've got to this stage, now we're going to start thinking about cooking. So that is it. There's no kneading, there's nothing else that you're going to do with that dough. Yeah, you're covered. You saw I made full use of the spoon there because I didn't want to get
done this before, because I don't know how I've managed to do this with a 2-ingredient recipe right now.
Divide it up. If you use 100 grams of flour and 100 grams of yogurt, then you can probably divide this up into about 6 rounds. They don't need to be very big because we're going to put them, so I'm thinking like small pancake size. So just pat them down on the work surface.
And if we don't have one of those cutters like we're using, I'm just going to use
a you can use a knife, absolutely. Or I could use a knife and then that'll be more. Yes, I have a dough scraper there, sorry.
So just 6 equal portions, basically.
Yeah, so fairly small because you want them to cook nice and quickly and not be doughy in the middle when they cook.
Fine.
So just excuse me, I'm going to grab myself a tiny bit of flour. Trying not to use up as little flour as possible at the moment. Keep on with it. But you might need to just put a tiny bit of flour out on your work surface to stop them sticking to the work surface as you turn them out. You're just patting them down. Nice rough shape. You can make them into a nice round if you want. I'm more of the it looks nice and homemade when it's not perfect. So pat them down. So you should just be making little rounds like that, and they should be about 1 centimetre to half a centimetre thick, so nothing too thin. You should still be able to move them off your work surface. How's everyone doing?
It's a good question, Melissa. I'll be honest. Rhiannon, sorry. It's a good question.
How's it looking?
I mean, it's looking very wet, if I'm honest.
Some more flour, and you went from crumbly to wet, so just even it up a bit.
Okay.
But add your flour like 10 grams at a time, just a tablespoon at a time. Yep, that looks fantastic. You're good to go.
Okay. Bear with me, I'm on my last one. I think the extra flour has helped massively.
So the next stage we're going to do is I'm going to take you over to my stove. So I'm just going to move my camera in a minute when I've taken all this dough off my hands. I'm just going to move the camera very slightly while you're finishing up.
So this is where we're at. That looks weird, doesn't it? That one looks a very weird shape.
A little bit.
Okay.
So I'm going to pop my stove on. Nice and hot frying pan. Now I'm going to use an oil spray.
Okay.
To coat my coat each of the individual bits of bread.
Does it matter if you use coconut oil or olive oil?
No, it's completely up to you. It's just to stop it sticking to the pan. So whatever is your preference at home.
Fine.
And then I'm just going to pop each one. The reason I don't pour oil into the pan is I don't want it to saturate the bread.
Fine, okay.
So I'm just putting a smear of oil on the surface of each bread.
So we're just spraying the actual...
Yeah, I'm spraying the actual dough. If you've only got obviously a bottle of oil, just put a little bit on your hands and rub it onto the surface of the bread.
So we want a hot pan, you said?
Yeah, really hot pan. So mine is sizzling. You won't be able to hear, but I've just put them in. I'm just going to make sure they're not sticking.
Okay. So I've got this one. I've got an olive oil spray.
Oh yeah, you've got the same one. Fantastic.
These actually remind me very much of my family is Sri Lankan, and my mum used to make like coconut rotis, which actually look very similar. They're kind of like a flatbread, but yeah, it just reminds me of that. So in goes my flatbread.
Yes, I had a lady on a course on Sunday who's herself teaches Indian cookery, and she was saying that that's normally more on the hob breads, flatbreads, rather than baking. So you can just see, I've just turned that over, so that was literally a minute or two, and I hope you can see that that top one is browned. Try not to sear all the arm hair off my arm, but my arm over the top there. So you will need to turn them relatively quickly, just to ensure they don't burn. But you are looking to get that lovely kind of dappled brown. You can just see there.
See, I'm not going to lie, Rhiannon, this was meant to be an interview while we do this, but I'm so heavily engrossed in making sure I get this right that I've completely forgotten the ability to talk.
Kind of cooking and heating up, it would be really interesting. I know you did touch upon how you've obviously had to adapt your business and move it online, but
sure.
So what are the challenges you've perhaps faced in this process of moving your business to this online cooking class?
What are the challenges? I mean, I guess the technology could be a challenge. Touch wood, I'm used to, so I have a lot of social media anyway. I do a lot of videos on my Facebook, so I'm kind of used to using the laptop for that purpose. I think it's also making sure you've got that connection with people. I think you touched on it in the earlier question, like what is the difference between teaching people like this and teaching people in my kitchen? I mean, in my classes in person, I would obviously have welcomed people into my home or into wherever I'm teaching, and hopefully made them feel at ease. So I think it's just a bit more understanding that connection with people online. But really, I think it's been lovely to see people come together on the classes and cook like this. And I'm really hoping you'll get to make some delicious bread at the end of this, and then you can enjoy them later.
And also, like you said, it's trying new things. I mean, I wouldn't typically make this, but it's actually really fun learning how to.
Yeah, and I know my kids are going to eat these all for tea because they love them. So you can see how dark I've gone there in the pan.
Oh, they look good.
So because it's my, so you need keep turning them over, keep the pan on the heat. But I think mine are almost pretty much there now. So you do want to make sure they're kind of cooked all the way through. You don't want doughy centres. That's what I was saying about making sure that they were cooked.
Yeah.
And did you used to do, I know you mentioned about social media, but did you used to do anything online based with your business before all of this, or is this new to your business and to you in terms of virtual baking?
I had one online course already that I'd recently just launched.
Right.
So that was only this year though. I recorded it last year. So that was the first thing. It was a fairly static course, so learning the basics of baking bread at home. People, when they joined, it wasn't live like this. It was recorded videos, and people could follow along in their own time at home. But yeah, the live thing I've never done before, but I have done, as I say, on Facebook, doing live videos of demonstrating techniques. So I guess I had that practice of talking to camera whilst baking, so that probably stood me in some good stead. But I think having the classes online, it's been a learning process for me and my students, and just getting to know each other. I think luckily, I don't know, that's probably not the right word, but given that people are really looking for that online connection to do something together, and that people have been willing to come on and try something new, not just for baking, but actually finding themselves on a Zoom call perhaps for the first time, or on a live online. And I don't, again, I'm putting everyone at ease and saying, well, you absolutely don't have to have a video on. I don't need to see what you're doing. You can choose however much you want to participate in the class. If you just want to sit in silence and watch, it's absolutely fine, and do it later when you feel more comfortable. So I think that's helped people just get involved a bit more.
Yeah, absolutely. And how do you find their results? Because obviously you will understand, I mean, the chaos that is in my kitchen at the moment is a perfect example. But in terms of, you'd be able to see it in person and go, okay, that needs a bit more flour, that needs a bit more fluid. How have you found judging that over an internet link?
It has been different, and I certainly can't look around the room and see the one person who's perhaps just is catching up or wants to ask a question. I can't see that automatically. I can judge, say, for example, dough development by looking at it on the camera and shaping of the dough. So as I say, we try and leave as much time for questions, and then I go around everyone and check that everyone's okay before we move on. So how are your breads coming on?
I mean,
one of them out of the 4 looks great.
Just get that one.
One of them looks normal. The other 3 we're working on. I'm asking these questions just to delay you, Rhiannon, to be honest.
It smells really good as well. Like you don't think it would, but it's starting to smell really good. I think the thing that I noticed is I've got an induction cooker, and I think I should have let the pan heat. Well, it's fine now, but I could have let the pan heat up even more before putting them on. I think it takes a bit longer if you don't have a gas cooker.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely true. Like, I think that's another thing about not knowing anything about anyone else's kitchen who's baking with me. So yeah, I have this gas hob, and so obviously I just whacked that on the highest flame, and it was done in a couple of minutes. So yeah, it's helping people adapt what I'm doing to their personal circumstances as well has been another way of kind of questions.
Which is good. Because I suppose, like, through this process as well, like, I'm slowly learning that, especially when you follow recipes, like you said, everyone's got different kitchens, different equipment, different cookers. But I think with a really basic kitchen and really basic utensils, this is one of them that anyone can really do.
Yeah, I'd hope so. And it's certainly a very popular bread. And I've conversed with people who perhaps have never baked before to at least try this one, if nothing else. You know, I'm not asking for you to open a whole bakery or anything like that. I really hope this one is something that, and people can do it with their kids as well. So
do you find this is the most popular?
I think it has been one of my most popular. Yeah, I think just to encourage people to Michael's not sure.
I mean, this is where we're at, okay?
It's fab. They look fantastic.
I mean, you can come again.
Let's give a little update. Oh, you can't really see. I've got a flat plate, but here we go.
Yes. Yeah, they look fab.
Yeah, they look great.
I made a lamb curry last night, so I've just saved some to wipe up that gravy.
What are you going to eat this with? I mean, they will just be good dipped in something, but if you've got a meal later, you can eat with.
You mentioned not opening a bakery. Obviously, that's potentially something that you do on a day-to-day. Tell us about Epsom Bakehouse and what you do on a day-to-day basis before this weird and bizarre climate struck.
Yeah, so I opened the Epsom Bakehouse in 2013. Previous to that, I was working in local government, and I left a job. I was quite unhappy in my previous role, and I left a job and was temping, and I came across a organisation that trained people to set up their own micro bakeries from home. So I took that course, and then I took about a few months to decide how I was going to set up my business. And I originally started by baking breads to sell. So I was selling on my local farmers market and in my local marketplace, and then building up local customers. But after about 6 months, I also started teaching bread making classes, and I just loved them from the start. So I really enjoyed teaching people. I really loved, just like you guys have just done now, and I can see you're eating it. I mean, that's fantastic.
This is amazing. I can't believe this is just yogurt.
So it was just fantastic to see that people could create something in like a 4-hour class with me. And
this is really cool. Sorry, I know I'm just eating them, but it smells and tastes so good.
And that is one of the fantastic bits about teaching people. They're just, bread comes out the oven and they cannot believe what they've made. They're like, wow, look at that. And they're desperate to dive in. And actually, I get a lot of people saying, oh, I'm going to take my bread home at the end of this class. I'm going to share it with friends and family. By the end of the class, they're like, no.
Eat it. I think after this, I'm ready for, your most advanced class.
You are, definitely, you are.
I can confirm I'm definitely not. I think I'll stick with flatbreads for now.
I think you'd be fine. But yes, I've been teaching classes since 2014 and built up a whole range of classes. So introduction to bread making, artisan breads, Italian breads, sourdough breads, and then seasonal specials like Christmas breads.
Wow.
And also had 2 children in the interim, so just been building those classes up around that. And then, built quite a large online audience as well for my business. So I have Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, and I really enjoy chatting to people on there about bread baking. So I get lots of questions from people, especially now, kind of who want to start baking bread from home. So it's just been a real joy to help people learn a new skill. And I'm really grateful that I've been able to take some of those classes online, just to help people a bit more whilst they're doing something at home during, as I say, the current climate.
And it sounds cliche, but you've obviously done what is your passion and what you enjoy, but now you do that on a day-to-day basis. Do you still have that same enjoyment and that same passion with it?
I really do. I love baking, and we've been doing a live bake along on my Facebook page every morning at 10, which is really simple, like this. So that's totally, anyone can get involved, and my 4-year-old helps out. So I just want some amusement, because that's generally just, I'm desperately just trying to keep the train on the tracks mainly for the 20 minutes. But yeah, we've done loads, and I just think I really love it. I love passing on those skills and seeing what people make, and people send photos afterwards, and that's actually the best bit for me. I'm like, wow, look what people made. Love it.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah, how's the little one? Is he or she capable? Are they showing the same ability?
Yeah, my daughter, she is. She really likes it, and she'll get in. For kids, I think they're very tactile. They love to, very physical. They love to really get involved with their hands. So it doesn't matter what I say. She'll just spend the whole time putting together whatever dough it is that we're working with, and it'll just be crushed into non-existence by the end. Yeah, she's really good.
You can't really help but play around with it yourself. Like, I mean, whilst you two have been talking, I'm just standing here like touching
you're just picking at it,
stuck in my fingers.
I feel like we should have an update. This is where I'm at.
It smells good. It looks like it should.
It smells great, actually. I'm sort of worrying that it's actually turned out okay.
Don't be surprised. I had absolute faith in you.
I suppose your concern is when you hear a smoke alarm or something like that go off, then you know you're banging trouble.
Yeah.
You could probably add, even like, say if you wanted to even go one further, you could probably add other things into your mix, could you?
Absolutely, yeah, spices and herbs and things like that will take it really well. You could even really, really finely chop things like nuts or olives or sun-dried tomatoes or something like that, and really go for it and experimenting with the flavours.
That's actually amazing. I love that. Yeah. Well, finished product.
Fantastic.
If we've somehow convinced people to come to you, Rhiannon, and I really hope we have, but hopefully if they were watching Nemo's webcam rather than my own. But if they want to come to you, how would that work? How do they get involved?
Find me online. I'm at www.theepsombakehouse.co.uk, or you can just search Epsom Bakehouse on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and you'll hopefully find me.
Track you down. And sorry, my last question, is it just bread? Because I know we focused a lot on bread, and I know that's your passion, but do you cater in other things should they want to?
I do focus at the classes just on breads, and the live bake-alongs, we've done a few cakes and sweet treats as well, just because it's fun for families to bake at home. But yeah, my classes are breads.
Amazing. Well,
I love that.
I mean, we have a finished product.
Brilliant.
They're a little bit chunky, but I'll go with it.
And there we go. Thank you so much. That was really fun. And yeah, I hope we've kind of shared more about your business. And if there is any other businesses that have had to move their food and drink business online, hopefully you gave them some insight and they can check out your website if they'd like to join one of your classes. And yeah, just thank you for doing something really fun with us. So
thank you for having me.
No, we really appreciate that, Rhiannon. Thank you so much.
Not to worry.
Best of luck.
Take care.